welcome back to the Life Can't Wait podcast. I'm your host, Ashlee Patterson.
And I'm your other host, Melissa Bell. And today we wanted to talk about stop limiting your self-belief and also what suppression can do to your creative mood and your just creative outlets in general. So
yes, let's dive right in. So the thing that kind of sparked this was we had a conversation, and I don't know, well, I'm sure, so let me know if you can relate in the comments, but, you know, when you were a child or just even when you're growing up and you're trying to figure out who you want to be, there were probably times where you thought a thought, had an idea, and felt like, you know what, I probably can't do that, or it's not going to work out, or something like that. So that kind of sparked it because I'm sure we've all experienced that, and I, for one, have experienced it, and Melissa and I have talked about it, and I really wanted to bring, we both did, want to bring this conversation to light so that we can all come together and know that the beliefs you have are limiting yourself. You are the creator of your own life, so when you're thinking thoughts and believing that that can be you, that's on you. That's not on anyone else.
Right. You tell him. Say it loud for the girl in the back.
So yes, girl. Okay. What are your thoughts on it?
You know, it's interesting because I thought growing up, like, okay, you know, I've always been a very active person in general, but I always thought I had no talent. Okay. And I wasn't very, like, creative. Like, I had friends who were, like, you know, into acting, and they could sing, and they could do all this stuff. And I was like, dang, I ain't got nothing. And I really felt like that for the longest time, like, actually growing up. And it was so funny because I'd be, like, hanging out with people, and we would just be doing small little things. Just, like, for example, like, it could be sports, or it could be, like, even photography. Like, all my friends would be like, oh, I'll take my picture, right? And they would always be like, dang, girl, you kind of good at that. Mm-hmm. And it would kind of start sparking just in general throughout life that I was like, dang, I'm kind of good at some stuff.
Right.
And I mean, I say more recently, which we can totally talk about, you know, later more into depth. It really hit me. It was just like, wow, I have like all of these skills and things that I'm like naturally good at, or I naturally enjoy doing. And now I'm putting them to work, and it's a completely different life, to say the least. Yeah. And I think that just changes the mindset, and then it kind of just ties back into what we're talking about, which was like, I was the only like common denominator through that whole part of my life of not actually doing these things. It wasn't like necessarily someone was stopping me from doing that.
Right.
So that's my...
Yes. Yeah. And I think for me, I think realizing that everything doesn't have to be a thing that you are the best at. One thing that I realized as like a teenager, well, maybe younger adult teenager, is that this word passion project. And I got super excited about that because I realized when you're doing something and you're passionate about it, it's so much, you get so much fulfillment out of it because you have a passion for it. And yes, let's be honest, we live in 2020, so it's a whole new world. You can monetize a lot of these things. So when those two thoughts came together, where I'm like, well, I just want to have a bunch of passion projects. And I'm sure my best friend, Vanessa, shout out girl, she can attest to this, that I started talking about all of these different things that I really loved as a child, and then I decided as an adult, I am going to start these things as a passion project. So whether I make $1 or $10,000, I'm going to enjoy it because I love it so much. So if you didn't know about passion projects, which I'm sure you do, because I feel like that's a common word, you know, think about it in a different way when you're thinking about things that you like. Sometimes it doesn't have to be something that you're super good at. Sometimes you just do things because it makes you feel good.
Right. And, you know, it's funny as you bring that up, because this is like a conversation that we've had, is you, like, I mean, you know, we just recently met, just in case you didn't know, so it's kind of like podcast with a stranger, but one of the main things we, you know, related on was you're just kind of now getting into all these things. Like, just remember how we talked about, like, going on Groupon and just, like, picking random things and getting into it.
You said that, I was like, this is my girl.
I know, and I was like, we literally friends, right?
Yes.
So, and I think that was really cool. That was, like, one of the main things about Ash that was like, okay, like, we were meant to be friends, just because she's, like, willing to try new things. And again, it's not like a, oh, I have to be the best at this, or it's going to be a skill set I'm going to use for the rest of my life. It was just really, like, enjoying life and enjoying this new thing. So it was just funny that you said that, because also those things, I think, are also things we were interested when we were younger, and we kind of just, like, oh, maybe we tried it once or we never even tried it just because it wasn't around us or within our culture. So it kind of just flew out with it, which is a whole other topic, which we will get onto one day. So I just, that was an important piece that I thought was really cool that you brought up, because you're just willing to try things. And also you find out like new things that you're passionate about that you didn't even know you would like. Right. You know what I mean? Like things like, you know, we talked about going kayaking. Like I've been kayaking before, but that was something that I was like, I'm going to hate this. I don't want to be wet. So I don't want any of it. And then I went kayaking and I was like, okay, this is pretty dope. So I think it's also important to kind of just try new things in life and find out what you like and what you don't like. Right?
Sidebar about the kayaking. Okay. I tried it when I moved here. So, the first time I did it was in La Jolla. Oh my God. If you haven't been there, you have to go. It is so beautiful. Anyway, and the waves, oh my God. As soon as we got in the water, the wave went over my head and I said, I don't want to do this. Like, it was rough. But then I went to San Diego again. I love San Diego. Oh my God. It's just like a vibe down there. But anyway, and I did it in the marina. And it was so zen and calm. So, if you've never done kayaking, try it in some waters that's calm. I would say that because that's what I personally like. Doing it in those waves, I was like, no. Okay, let me get back on topic though. I did want to put that in there though. So we were talking about the suppression of different things that you desire. And one thing, I'm a very spiritual person, so I'll just put that out there because, you know, a lot of things I will say will go back to that. But one concept, and I don't know who said it to me or where I heard it, so if you were that person, put it in the comments. I don't remember. But you would not have these desires and these thoughts in your head if they were not supposed to be a part of your life.
100%.
And once that concept was put into my head, I was like, okay, so that means I'm not just thinking these things because they're supposed to be in somebody else's life. Right. I'm thinking these things because those desires, those thoughts were put into my head so that I could manifest them into my own life. Right. You know, so...
girl, that was a good point. Yeah, I think, you know, I was going to kind of just touch on that. I think, again, whether you're spiritual or obviously God put them there, I think that's a great way of putting it, is like having these ideas and just these thoughts of some kind of creativity in some way. It's a message. No matter how you like put it, it's a message for you. And that's just, you know, the universe in general or God telling you like, go out and do this thing, or go and create more, or be around better people so you do have more outlets to do these kinds of things. So that was a great point. Just wanted to say.
And, you know, and back to the suppression thing, I think when you... Oh, I love what you just said about being around certain people, because I do think that is a huge factor. In one of our previous episodes, we talked about energetic friendships, and I think that is a big portion of it, because when you get around different people that not necessarily have the same desires, but have these desires that are like not the norm, it makes you kind of gravitate towards them because you're like, okay, well, let's experience this together. Or, oh, you want to do that, you know? And I think being around people, you know, where people say, you know, your circle, like the 5 people that you're around the most, I don't know the same, but I'm sure you know, the 5 people you're around the most are who you really are, you know. And I think when I started to become, you know, more myself, like who I truly am, and then I started meeting people to where they are who they are, it made me realize like, oh my goodness, like they want to do those things too, so that isn't so crazy. And I think also when you grow up in different scenarios, like not necessarily bad, but you grow up in a certain environment. I'll never forget like when I was younger, and I think this is where some of these like suppression things came in. I went to New York to visit like a family friend with my mom and my little sister and stuff, and this person, I don't even know who this person is, but they were over that person, my mom's friend's house, and I told him like, oh, I want to go to school for fashion. So sidebar, I went to school for fashion, Kent State, yes, loved it. And he was like, you're gonna do fashion? You're gonna move to New York? Like, don't you guys just have farms? And first of all, I'm like, what? Like, first of all, I don't really know. Like, I know we have farms in Ohio, but I've never really been to them. I think there was one where we used to do apple picking for field trips. I don't even know what it was called. But anyway, that's not that. And it's so funny because then when I went to school for fashion, they had like a study away program. Sidebar, I did want to go to Tokyo, but my dad is like, no, you cannot go to Tokyo. So I ended up going to New York and lived there alone. And that was one of the best experiences in life because I was literally all alone.
I didn't know you went to New York.
Now you know, girl.
See, I'm learning stuff the same time you guys are.
Literally, living there alone. And that forced me to literally be by myself, figure things out, getting lost on the subway, walking around, doing all this crazy stuff. So my point is, if I let that person, which at the moment I was like, okay, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, tell me that I can do it. And guess what? I lived there. Shout out to New York, but not for me. I really don't like it there to live there. We can talk about that later, but I don't. But my point is, I would have never felt the courage to go there alone and do that if I let that. So to bring it all in, do not let other people suppress your desires. If you're going to suppress them, that's on you. You need to figure that out. But do not let other people, because they only see as far as they can see.
Right.
That's it.
That part right there. And you know what I gotta say, because it obviously suppression ties into people. Okay, we're tying into your groups. And I just want to make it like a very important point is the kind of magic that happens, like the alignment of the universe when you're actually connected to the right people is amazing.
Right.
Like, and it's everything. It's between just friends, it's your projects, it's your business, it's like family, it's everything. So it's just kind of an interesting, like, you got to be really mindful of who you have around you, because just having the right person, maybe they're not even the actual connection, but it's just crazy. Like
they
recently,
just fire you up.
No, they literally just put so much, they give so much energy, and it's just perfect exchange of energy between two people. And it kind of, you're flowing someone power, which then again, that relates and results into creativity or something new in your life. So it's just, the difference for me now, which we'll get into later because there's details, is like, I'm so surrounded by the right people right now. And literally every day has been a new opportunity. Business-wise, friendship-wise, possible relationship-wise, and it's just so crazy because I'm like, dang, 2 years ago, the job I had, like, you know what I mean? My friend circle, again, I love a lot of those people, but you know what I mean? It was just the same thing, and I wasn't very creative, and I was just kind of like, literally the same, like a cog in a wheel, and it was like, man, life is like boring,
Right.
And then now being around the right people and doing, things that I'm passionate about and that make me happy, and it's just, it's night and day. And it's like, you can't, I feel like only people who've gone through or been lucky enough to go through this experience know exactly what that feeling is, to be around the right people. And especially, which I feel like you already have stuff to say, what do you feel like when you get rid of some source of suppression? Maybe that's a person, maybe that's a job that you feel that was suppressing you. And again, I don't say this in like a way of you were a victim or anything like that, but you know what I mean? You can say like, okay, if you have a bad relationship, and let's just like, I think a few of us have had those. You know that feeling when you finally are like, oh, I'm done, and you actually leave and you're done, and you're like, after, the emotional part wears off, you're like, dang, my energy is popping right now. Like, how do you feel? So that's kind of my question to you is like, have you had that experience before?
Yes. Okay.
Do tell, girl, do tell.
Because I was like, okay, woo.
I know, it's like, spotlight's on you.
All right. So, yeah, definitely, you get in relationships when you're younger, and I don't know, because I'm thinking like, okay, how much detail do you need to know? Not in a way like how much detail, but it's like to get to the point. You're in relationships and you're going through the ebbs and flows of them, right? And you feel like, okay, this is going on. But this is where I think that you're getting at is when you step away from those relationships, right? For me, I literally play back things in my head, and I'm like, wait, if this was to continue, right, my life would be so different.
Could you imagine?
And I'm also like, it's like,
I know, that's why
there's like 20 thoughts in my head right now, because I'm like, also like, where my mind was has just grown so much, because the suppression, like what you're saying, it's like you feel like, okay, this is the box that I'm going to be in, and this is the only box I know. And then once the lid of the box opens up and you walk out of it, you're like, wait, there's a whole nother world out here that I would have never seen.
This box is endless. Literally. I know that part.
Or have experienced. But what I will say is, you know, when you're in relationships and they don't work out, like I'm talking romantic, friendships, whatever, work, relationship, whatever. And at that moment, you're like, I'm sad this happened, or I wish this didn't happen. But one thing I learned, and what I learned, because it was like I realized, not that I needed to learn things the hard way, but all of those things had to happen for me to get to where I am, because so many things wouldn't have happened. And not even just in relationship, just certain random things that happened in my life. Like, random sidebar, one day I'm like over a friend's house and my car's outside, and then I'm leaving and I'm walking to my car and I'm like, I didn't park that far in the street. Like, the sidewalk's here, but my car's over here. My car's freaking totaled, and I'm like, is this happening? You know what I mean? And I'm devastated. The point is, though, that turned out to be such a blessing. So one thing, and I don't know where I heard it again, like, hear these random things. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And I think once that mind shift, like, not you just saying it, but you actually believing it, because things happen day to day, and I'm like, ugh, why is this happening? And then for 5 minutes, I'm like, well, it probably is happening because this or that. Like, say you lose something, or you take a long time to get dressed or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I'm late. But you know what I keep thinking, like, when things like that happen? God saved me from an accident. Because so many times there are these milliseconds to where you're like, oh, if I was here,
there, something would have happened.
Like, not to be somber, though, but all those people, 9/11, that didn't go to work, or hello.
Right.
Okay, so let me hear your thoughts. Because I was like, that was a little somber, but for real.
No, but I mean, it's true. And just like, even just the little blessings, like, you know, I'll give you a little tea for a second. Okay. So, like, you know, I moved down to South Orange County, and I was new, and I was dating this guy, and I was really into him, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I really, really liked him, right?
As usually are.
It was going, whatever. And mind you, at this point, I'm like pretty new out there, so I have no friends. Okay, I'm like a loner, just figuring it out. And things didn't work out. And, you know, I was going through a day where I was really upset about it. I'm like, damn, I got no friends up here. I ain't got nothing, right? And I was supposed to be, I think it was on a weekend or something, I was supposed to go out of town with him. And I literally, obviously we broke up. So then I ended up in town, and I ended up going to the gym. And that was when my friend Nellie, this random girl, walks up to me in the bathroom. Mind you, I'm like almost about to cry. That's like where I'm at in life, right? And I'm just in the bathroom, just like kind of pissed off. I'm upset. And she comes up to me and she's like, oh my God, I just wanted to tell you, like, I love your body. Like, I really, like, she was giving me this beautiful compliment, and like, I would love to work out. And I was like, that was the first time anyone in that town in general had ever come up to me and talked to me.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm shocked, right? And it was just like a cute moment. And then I was like, do you want my number? We could like hang out. And she was like, sure. And now that's like my best friend. Right. So I'm just like, wow, if I, you know, who knows if maybe down the line we would have run into each other. But I'm just like, if I was on that trip with this man that technically I really had no future with, but if I was on that trip, I never would have run into her and had that moment. And again, this is someone who I see several times a week and on the weekends, and she's helped me with projects, and really was like, yo, when I went full time as being a personal trainer, she's like, you could do it. You know what I mean? She shot all my promo for me and things like that. So I'm just like, that right there seems like such a small moment, but I'm like, girl, big blessing.
Literally, like that, know, one little moment in the way you just like, that was like, there were so many things where you're like, this and this and this and this and
right,
this.
I'm just like, holy, and you know what I mean? And again, although she wasn't like necessarily the connection, it was just so many things have actually come to light through her. Meaning, like, even the place that I now train my clients, I only know about that place because she filmed a video there.
Really?
And just like all these small connections. And so just my point is just like she was saying, it is very like God, the universe, whatever you believe in spiritually, there is a reason why, and the universe is definitely working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of brings us to our point of what our next episode's going to be about.
Yes. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to make manifestation work for you. So stay tuned for that. You know, I do want to end this off by saying, do not let anyone tell you what you can do and what you want to do. And anything that you find enjoyment, passion, anything, you know, just really tap into that and just see if it's something you might do once or you might do a million times, because guess what? That one time could change your life. Right. So really stay in that. Do not suppress your own desires. Do not let other people suppress your desires.
Love that.
And stop with the limiting beliefs, guys.
Yeah, okay? She said stop with it. Stop with it right now, okay?
Literally.
Do you. We love you. Yeah. I'm Melissa Bell.
And I'm Ashlee Patterson. And we will see you next time. Toodaloo.
Bye.